You may have a memory of when you first, as a child, started connecting the dots of the world. Perhaps outside on a cold spring day, school field trip, mud on your shoes, mentally straying from the given tasks at hand as you began to find patterns and connections where you didn't notice them before. You may remember being excited by your discoveries, and maybe you held them up proudly to the other kids, saying, "Did you ever notice that this looks like this? The shapes on this leaf look like the cracks in this puddle of ice, which look like the veins on the back of my hand, which look like the pattern on the back of her sweater." Collecting the dots, then connecting them, and then sharing the connections with those around you. This is how a creative human works. Collecting, connecting, sharing. All artists work in different mediums, but they also differ when it comes to those three departments. Some artists love the act of collecting. We might call this experiencing or emotionally and intellectually processing the world around us. The ingredients, the puddles of ice, the sweater, that go into the poetic metaphor. Or the wider and longer-term collection, the time it takes to fall in and out of love so that you can describe it in a song, or the time it takes a painter to gaze at a landscape before deciding to capture it on a canvas. Or the 3 years Thoreau needed to live simply on the side of a pond, watching sunrises and sunsets through the seasons before he could give Walden to the world. Some artists devote more time to connecting the dots they've already collected. Think of a sculptor who hammers away for a year on a single statue, a novelist who works 5 years to perfect a story, or a musician who spends a decade composing a single symphony. Connecting the dots to attain the perfect piece of art. Thoreau himself needed another 3 years after his time in the cabin to distill and connect his experiences into the most beautiful and direct writing possible. Like most stage performers, I've always been most passionate about the final phase, the sharing. There's lots of ways to share. Writers share when someone else reads or listens to their words, in a book, a blog, a tweet. Painters share by hanging their work or by sliding the sketchbook to a friend across the coffee shop table. Stage performers also collect and connect in the form of experiencing, writing, creating, and rehearsing, but there's a different kind of joy in that moment of human-to-human transmission. From you to the eyes and ears of an audience, whether fireside at a party or on a stage in front of thousands. I'm a sharing addict, but no matter the scale or setting, one truth remains: the act of sharing, especially when you're starting out, is fucking difficult. There's always a moment of extreme bravery involved in this question. Will you look? It starts when you're little. Back in the field, the veins of the leaf looked like your hand, and you said it out loud to the kids walking next to you. You may have seen the lights go on in their eyes as you shared your discovery. "Oh, you're right, cool." And felt the first joys of sharing with an audience. Or you might have been laughed at by your friends and scolded by the teacher, who explained, patiently, "Today isn't looking for patterns day. This is not the time for that. This is the time to get back in line, to fill in your worksheet, and to answer the correct questions." But your urge was to connect the dots and share, because that, not the worksheet, is what interested you. This impulse to connect the dots and to share what you've connected is the urge that makes you an artist. If you're using words or symbols to connect the dots, whether you're a professional artist or not, you're an artistic force in the world. When artists work well, they connect people to themselves, and they stitch people to each other through this shared experience of discovering a connection that wasn't visible before. Have you ever noticed that this looks like this? And with the same delight that we took as children in seeing a face in a cloud, grown-up artists draw the lines between the bigger dots of grown-up life: sex, love, vanity, violence, illness, death. Art pries us open. A violent character in a film reflects us like a dark mirror. The shades of a painting cause us to look up into the sky, seeing new colors. We finally weep for a dead friend when we hear that long-lost song we both loved come unexpectedly over the radio waves.